Hey, what's up? This is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel, Who's Ready for Some Fighting Words. In this video, I want to talk about Claressa Shields and yet again, Alycia Baumgardner. Really quick, if you like the videos, please take the time, subscribe to the channel. Just takes one click. And if you could also, please hit the thumbs up button. It does help. It shows love and it supports this channel. So the two are at it again. Alycia Baumgardner versus Claressa Shields, just once again, not in a ring. A whole lot of this. Not a whole lot of this. And it just keeps sparking off every time they run into each other. And I got news for you all. Guess what? It's going to happen again. Why? Because they're going to go to all the major boxing events. They're going to keep running into each other. You know, like, I'm pretty sure Alycia Baumgardner is going to be there for Devin Haney when he takes on Ryan Garcia. And guess who else is going to be there? Claressa Shields is going to be there. So they're going to run into each other yet again. It's going to be a whole lot of this yet again. And the issue with this one, this time was different. Because this time, did it get physical? No, but we saw a different personality. We saw a little something extra. And you guys know how I like to focus on the psychology of things. And when I looked at Alycia Baumgardner, I saw somebody who wasn't scared, but knew what not to do. She knew also what not to say. Then I looked at Claressa Shields, and I saw how big Claressa Shields was, and I saw how she towered over her, and I saw the look in her eyes. The switch, the same switch that happens when you're outside the ring to when you walk inside the ring happened. And the switch happened with Claressa Shields. I did not see the switch with Alycia Baumgardner. Now, that could be one of two things. One, Alycia Baumgardner didn't feel the threat and knew nothing was going to happen, so there was no need for the switch. Or two, she's not what she says she is. When I look at Claressa Shields, she closed the distance. She imposed herself physically, standing over her, then looking down on her, closed the distance between the two of them. And Alycia Baumgardner didn't move. She didn't step forward. I'm not saying she didn't step backwards, but she didn't step forwards. That's the difference. She didn't step forward. Then I don't feel like the bulk of what Alycia Baumgardner said came after, you know, there was some gentleman, security obviously, who stepped in between. And it was Eddie Hearn who told everybody, no, back up, back up. I want to see where this goes. I want to see if there's real intrigue here. I want to see if this is just wordplay. And I think Eddie Hearn did the right thing. I don't know if many people notice Eddie Hearn. I see a lot of, videos of everybody else talking about this and that. But they didn't mention Eddie Hearn. And it's interesting because I've said it several times. I do a lot of street work. I work with gangs. So, I see a lot of action. I'll just say it like that. However, you can tell when somebody's getting ready to do something. And you can tell when somebody is not. And Claressa Shields let me know in that moment she would have done something had those men not been there. Now, I'm not saying she would have struck Alycia Baumgardner, but I am saying she would have imposed herself so much that something would have happened. Now, either out of fear or just like retaliation, Alycia Baumgardner would have to respond. But what I saw was something totally different. I saw the look in Claressa Shields' eyes. She changed. She changed. It was a lot of talk, and then it just kind of switched. And it was like, you can get all of me right now. You can get every last ounce of me right now. And again, Alycia Baumgardner, not to say that I was expecting something different, but the way she talks, I was expecting something different. I was just expecting something different. You give off this persona that, anywhere, anytime, any place, and anybody. So I was expecting it. If you're going to, I'm not saying she initiated it, but if you're going to somewhat initiate this, I'm expecting you to take things a little further. That's all I'm saying. Or stand your ground in a different way. Because a lot of her talking was her turning away from Claressa Shields. Now, does any of this necessarily say that just because she didn't engage the way we would have liked to have seen, or she didn't engage in a way that I feel a fighter would have engaged, mean that she will not win in a fight with Claressa Shields? No, I don't think that either. You know, some people just aren't. It was Tim Tszyu who said when he was fighting Mendoza tries to stare him down. Tim turns his head and smiles and says, "I'm not into that. I'm not into the whole staring thing." But he didn't want any part of that whole exchange, that optical exchange. It was no wordplay, but Mendoza tries to stare him down, and Tim just turns his head away, and he's like, "Don't think this scares me. I'm just not into it. I'm not into it." And he let it be known. He said, "I'm not into it." You know, but it was something. Things take a turn for the worse. I'm not really take a turn for the worse. Quite frankly, I like action. But things take a turn for the worse. Alycia Baumgardner sticks her hand in Claressa Shields' face. That's not going to fly. That's when it gets physical. And when Claressa pushes her hand out of the way the first time, there was no reaction. In fact, you would think Alycia would at least turn around and face her. There was no reaction. And it's like, oh, then I can really do this. And sure enough, she does it again. And that's when she tried to shove her. Luckily, the security guards were there. But in my personal opinion, I still don't feel as if Alycia Baumgardner would have done anything. Claressa Shields had already taken off her shoes and was ready for whatever. She was ready for what came next because she understands where she's from, where I'm from, probably where a lot of you are from. Understand, once you put your hands on somebody and it becomes physical, well, then everything is going that way. We were having this way, but once you flesh touches, you know, or comes in contact with flesh, you're going to get that way. And I'm going all the way that way. And Claressa Shields is clearly there for it. Alycia Baumgardner was not. She allowed those men to stand between them. She allowed them to buffer. She allowed them to shield and guard. Now, again, does this mean that she would lose in a contest? No. Personally, I think her skills is what's going to make her lose in a contest. I don't think she's on the level of a Claressa Shields. That's all. And Claressa Shields made that be known. She said, well, yeah, you're a one-time undisputed champ, you know, but you're questionable because you're a drug cheat. And you won by a split decision. That's nothing to brag about. You know, that's nothing to brag about. In which case, you know, Alycia Baumgardner says, well, you're not knocking anybody out. I'll answer that. No, she's not knocking anybody out, but she's taking on women who are much bigger than her. She's taking on women who are undefeated, and she's taking on women who are knockout artists, and she's shutting them down completely. And she's always the instigator in every exchange that she has. Christina Hammer, Savannah Marshall, we can go on and on and on. So what do you got to say to that? I've already done a fight breakdown for these two. I'm going to do another one. I personally believe that Claressa Shields won every bit of the exchange between the two. The argument that Alycia Baumgardner put forth was not a strong argument. It was a very weak argument. She doesn't get knockouts. No, she just has unanimous decisions across the board with bigger people and stronger people. But those are my thoughts. What do you think about the exchange between Alycia Baumgardner and Claressa Shields? And how do you think Alycia Baumgardner and Claressa Shields both handle it? And would you agree that Claressa Shields won the better of the exchange?